Hello everyone, welcome to my movie channel. This is an inspirational story adapted from a true story. This foreigner wants to challenge eating with chopsticks, but accidentally added food to the wine glass. His family laughed at him for not being able to use chopsticks, but the man sensed something was wrong. Just now, he's got no strength whatsoever. And this situation, it has appeared more than once today. Just in the morning, he couldn't even tie his shoelaces. His wife reassured him that he may have been under a lot of work pressure recently. Take a night off and you should be fine. But the next day, the man found that his body not only did not improve. On the contrary, it became extremely difficult to even speak. The wife realized the seriousness of the problem. I rushed the man to the hospital for a full examination. When you see a man's report card, the doctor's expression suddenly became solemn. He asked the man to follow him. Move a few fingers like this. The man raised his right hand, but found such a simple action. I can't do it myself. After performing a lumbar puncture, the doctor confirmed his judgment. Men suffer from, it's a rare psychiatric disorder, multiple sclerosis. Frequent refers to the fact that the disease can present in many forms. At first, patients only occasionally appear physically. Movement disorders in the trunk. But as the disease worsens, and this is going to spread to vision, hearing, smell, and touch. And future attacks may be permanent loss. That is to say, men may one day suddenly become stalls, deaf and even blind. What's worse is, so far, there is still no effective cure for this disease in the world. Get this result. Men can't accept it. He berated the doctor for making a fuss. He was so angry that he left the hospital on the spot. At night he was drunk and listening. After returning home, the wife went up to ask about her condition with worry, however, in exchange for a scolding from the husband. In the summer, there is a storm and the wind blows. Storm blowing. Father-in-law came out to persuade. As a result, I thought the man scolded together. You tell me. Looking at such a grumpy son-in-law, father-in-law is definitely unreasonable. But when the daughter told the man's condition, and he went silent. As a pay teacher for 40 years, the disease was no stranger to him. Day 2. The sober man begins to apologize to his wife. He's going to give birth in a few months. He was afraid that he would suddenly go blind. I will never see my second child again. Wife is also devastated. He can only keep comforting men. Let him cooperate with the doctor's medication. It's a pity that the cruel disease did not spare the poor man. His condition has worsened. The doctor advised him to take a vacation from work, participate in rehabilitation training. But when men come to the training center, and all the patients here are complaining, they tell men that there is no cure for this disease. Training is a waste of energy, because no matter how hard you try, after a year, no one can walk 100 meters normally. And with our negative attitude, let just transform. The man with mentality lost confidence in an instant. When he went back, he deleted all the rehabilitation programs, locked himself in the room, and chose to escape. This one is for several months. The wife's tiredness outside the door, he turned a blind eye to his son's loneliness. Until the wife gave birth, he just walked out the door for the first time, looking at the haggard wife and his newborn son. The man finally realized his dereliction of duty. As a father, he should have set an example for the children, instead of being decadent like this. For self-redemption, the man decided to retrain. This time, he chose a gym for his workouts. But obviously the sport here is not for him. But just as he was about to leave, an advertisement on the pillar caught his attention. It was a flyer for a triathlon. So-called triathlon. Just swim 3.8 kilometers, cycling 180 kilometers, and running 42 kilometers. In order to give the eldest son back, create your own superhuman image. The man decided he wanted to compete. But when he told his wife what he thought, his wife thought he was crazy, because this sport is difficult for even ordinary people to complete. What's more, he's a sclerosis patient. See men persisting. The wife can only turn to her father for help. Unexpectedly, my father found out. Not only do you agree with the son-in-law's approach, he also offered to be his coach. The man was surprised. He didn't expect this old man he had always despised. He actually stood on his side at a critical moment. But what he didn't expect was, the old man's training method is so stupid. This coach is so weird. Men are doing triathlons, but he makes men practice weeding all day long, farming and building shells. What's even more ridiculous is, the next day, he actually took out a few bags of crops to keep him guessing. See which one is flour, which one is rice, which one is the coffee bean. Finally, the man can't take it anymore. He thinks the pregnant woman is fooling him. I deliberately deceived myself into farming here, he complained to his wife. But his wife told him, the father and daughter colluded. But just keep going. But what he didn't expect was, pregnant women's subsequent training becomes even more outrageous. Walk in a straight line on the beach, tie your legs with him, and play 3 sets of 2. Men don't understand at all. What's the point of practicing this all day? Until this day, he found one in his father-in-law's suitcase. Yellow t-shirt. He saw it at a glance. This is no ordinary dress. It's a Tour de France contest pilot suit. Just ask. It turns out that when my father-in-law was young, a Tour de France athlete. You know, it's a 3,500-kilometer race. For a while, the man's admiration for his father-in-law was born spontaneously. This night, the two talked a lot. Father-in-law revealed the reason for training him like this. It turned out that he was asked to dig to exercise his grip strength. Let him guess things to exercise his sense of touch. And walking in a straight line, and to people and 3 legs, it is to better train his balance and coordination. I understand the good intentions of my father-in-law. Men train without any complaints. On this day, he returned to the hospital for treatment, and he's missing a patient. But there's another female patient. I always look sad when I see him. The man guessed for sure. It was those people who instilled negative energy in him. So he said to his new patient, the disease is actually not that terrible. Here it is. I'm still going to participate in a triathlon. The man's words made the woman laugh. The next day, there was no sadness on his face. Started dancing in the hallways of the hospital. Men only know. It turned out that he was sick before. She used to be a ballet dancer. He is very grateful to the man for the encouragement he gave him yesterday. He also wants to be like a man. Fight the disease. Because it's far more meaningful than lying down and waiting to die. Soon game time is approaching. Pregnant women begin to disregard the identity of male patients. Start formulating a rigorous training plan for him. 5 a.m. He ran into the man's bedside on time. Wake him up. And then running, swimming and cycling every day. Train from day to night. Such intense training makes his body a little overwhelmed. But even so, he still chose to trust his father-in-law unconditionally. Just as the relationship between the two is getting better and better, Ben are unintentionally discovered the secret that his father-in-law had kept in his heart for years. This old man is so strange. The roof of my house has been broken for several years, but he never fixes it. No one knows why. Until this day, son-in-law in the sand. A knot was found in the gap in the hair. He looked at the magic set. I looked at the roof again. Instantly realized. It turns out that my father-in-law used to be just like me. Experienced the lows of life. Lost hope of living. He finally understands. Why did my father-in-law support me at the dinner table that day? Why many things. He can feel it. To thank this old confidant for his company. On his birthday, The man gave him a bicycle. See this special gift. Father-in-law loves and hates. Since Shou Chong retired, he hasn't been riding a bike in years. Wait for him to get in the car. The man in the back secretly turned on the projector. This is muscle. The father-in-law was deeply moved. His dream is a thing of the past. And the son-in-law's dream has just begun. Lee Tiren's 3 competitions are still a month away. Men start to train harder. And Chen girls exercise. But it didn't make him any better. The weather was unusually cold on the day of the game. It's not friendly to the average athlete. It's a huge challenge for men. The family is very concerned about his health. In case he gets sick on the way, this is life-threatening. But men don't want to give up. For this moment, he has been preparing for a long time. The first event of the competition is a 3.8-kilometer swim. As the countdown ends, hundreds of competitors dive into the sea. Men follow, although mentally prepared. But the cold water still made him lose his rhythm. He is constantly adjusting his state. Keep up with the speed of the large army as much as possible. Soon someone was already ashore. The first sentence, although men are not far behind. But his steps are starting to get a little brighter. The second is a 180-kilometer mountain bike ride. This is a man's sport. But since the first game, it consumed a lot of his physical strength. He was out of breath. Although he tried to catch up, but still being surpassed. Finally came to the final 42-kilometer marathon. At this point, 8 hours and 50 minutes have passed. It can be said that the champion is destined to miss him. Many people on the road have chosen to give up. But the man still persists. Because his purpose is to break through himself. Prove yourself. Soon the first athlete reaches the finish line. Journalists more and more people finish the race. And at this time, the man is still a long way from the finish line. Gradually the sky darkened. Saw more and more people collapsing on the track. The family couldn't help but start worrying about the man's safety. 16 hours and 51 minutes. The organizers have started packing up. The father-in-law rushed to the theory, said his family was still competing. But the other party said, there are no more contestants at this time. Your family gave up halfway as soon as they left. No one had any hope for him. Just when they all thought, when men will no longer appear. And something happened. That's all. The family supported each other to cross the finish line. This is a movie based on a true story. The man in reality not only achieved this once, triathlon, he also completed 4 marathons, 8 Olympic triathlons, 5 half marathons and 16 half marathons. Who said sclerosis? The patient cannot walk 100 meters after a year. Who says that if you are terminally ill, you can only sit in bed and wait to die? Men tell us from their youth experiences. As long as you don't give up on yourself, you will definitely be able to walk 100 meters out of your life. Maybe we don't feel it. The pain caused by sclerosis. But we can feel it deeply. The man who disobeys orders. Brave jumping heart.